Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about something a little bit interesting. Today we're going to be talking about the first ever Yu-Gi-Oh! Official ban list. Now a lot of us probably know the ban list as of the 2004 October ban list. That's the first actual ban list that I remember myself when going back into the wiki and checking things out. Now, I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For a long time, but what's interesting is I didn't actually know, and I think a lot of other people didn't actually check out one of the very first ban lists, which actually happened in April 2000. So here is the list. We'll talk a little bit about, would this actually affect the metagame to this day and age? More likely, probably not, but this is kind of my first time checking it out, which is strange because, I've been a Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan for a really long time. But starting right off, I was actually checking out what was on the list. So first off, all of the Exodia pieces on the list. Now, this actually happened April 1st, which is hilarious because that's literally like a prank day here in the US. But starting right off, all of the Exodia pieces were automatically limited to 1, which is a very strange effect if you guys think about Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in the day. We did have a lot of draw power, but my question is, would anyone back in the day actually run all 5 pieces of Exodia? Running 3 copies of every single card would be absolutely crazy. That's 15 cards that essentially are bricks unless you certain combos actually work together with it. I know with Backup Soldier, you could be playing maybe multiple copies of the head, but the rest of the pieces, you can maybe dump them into the graveyard via other effects, or if you were to maybe, let's say, use Painful Choice when that eventually did come out. But all of the pieces of Exodia were actually limited, which is, for reasons of, I just really don't think that actually mattered back in the day. Now going into the spell cards, what was actually limited? So Change of Heart was there. I'm sure any of you guys that had played maybe back in the day with Yu-Gi-Oh! We remember Change of Heart. I mean, this card is now legal nowadays and age, and the card still is actually a pretty nasty card if you think about how it actually affects the game. But because there's so many things nowadays in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you can just negate, the whole goal of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is to negate, and going turn 1 with Change of Heart, with the exception of a Nibiru play or very few things, will special summon a monster when it is technically your turn, right, in terms of turn 1. So I don't think that really makes too much of a big difference. But back in the day, when you would play Yu-Gi-Oh!, you would maybe eventually tribute 1 to 2 monsters, get out a big monster, and if your opponent just went Change of Heart and I summoned 1 card, maybe activate Monster Reborn, then that was a big push. That was considered a power play back in the day. Back when we actually had cards like Dark Hole and Raigeki. Speaking of Dark Hole, that's the next card that's actually on this list. So Dark Hole was also limited to only 1 copy. I'm sure a lot of you guys remember the combo back in the day with one of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card tips. This was, I'm not even trolling. I should actually look this up for you guys. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Combo was it Silver Fang and Raigeki. This was actually in some sort of book. I'm not even trolling. This actually became a meme in the community for a while. I can actually find it. So yeah, I found it right here. So big combos. Look at this Reddit post over here. So this was in some sort of magazine. It was a Yu-Gi-Oh! Tip. A combo list. Raigeki and Silver Fang. So the most common combo with Raigeki before summoning your monster. First, use Raigeki to destroy all your opponent's monster, and then summon your monster in attack position. Since your opponent has no monsters on the field, you can attack his or her life points directly. You can build more complex combos from this basic Raigeki combo. I think how that's even a combo. I don't know, for whatever reason they showed Silver Fang. I don't remember the exact timing of when that magazine was released, but at least combo and say that you can even use this and maybe summon Spirit Reapers so you can knock a card out of your opponent's hand. Even though you're dealing very little damage, you still get that card advantage, right? But yeah, that was just a thing that I remember back in the day because like I said, I'm an OG Yu-Gi-Oh! Player. But nonetheless, the next one up over here, though, this card would make a difference. If this card was to come back into the game, it would change things. So this is Last Will. This is also limited to 1 copy. So what does Last Will do? This card probably hasn't seen play and probably will never see play in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it's just going to stay banned. So how it works is, if a monster on your side of the field was sent to the graveyard this turn, so that's any way you contribute it, you can use it as material for whatever you need. You can dispose of 1 monster with an attack of 1,500 points or less from your deck once during this turn, then you shuffle your deck. The shuffle the deck doesn't really make any sense at all. But what was interesting with Yu-Gi-Oh! I remember back in the day, and let me know if you guys had any of these arguments with some of your friends. I remember certain cards would not say shuffle your deck, it would say add 1 card with this amount of stats from your deck to your hand, and then shuffle your deck. certain cards wouldn't say shuffle your deck. So a lot of people were just like, no, it doesn't say shuffle my deck. And they would look at all the cards that they were going to draw into, and they would just place it perfectly there. And it was really weird. But nowadays, YuGiOh, anytime you search a card, you always shuffle a deck. That's like normal, right? But yeah, Last Will could never exist in modern YuGiOh. I don't think it can, because literally, it would be legitimately probably one of the best cards into the game. Being able to special whatever you want out of the deck with basically the easiest condition, yeah, that card would make the game out of control in terms of like OPness. So that card was at 1 on April 2000. The next card is one of the most iconic YuGiOh cards of all time. That is that Young Pot of Greed. Man, this card was so dang good. I remember people would cheat. I don't know if any of you guys played YuGiOh at lunch or watched kids play YuGiOh at lunch, but I remember there were kids out there that, for whatever reason, they just had a bunch of copies of Pot of Greed, and they would just be like, well, what's the ban list or whatever, or they wouldn't even understand that you can only play 3 copies of like a certain card, and you'd have to argue with them, and they just keep on playing Pot of Greed. So that's just one of the most iconic cards, and that card was one of the OG cards that was hit really early on. Speaking of OG cards hit earlier on as well, this one, very, very powerful. But nowadays in age, we have cards like Lightning Storm. Raigeki does nothing, and just, yeah, you have the Silver Fang combo. There's not really too much to talk about with Raigeki, but what's crazy to me as an OG YuGiOh player is like, we have, you know, so many ways to destroy our opponent's monsters, and no one even wants to play Raigeki or even Duster, which is still mind-blowing to me coming from, you know, again, you know, many years ago with YuGiOh. It's just insane to the point that we've gotten to the point where like Lightning Storm exists and people don't even play 3 copies of Lightning Storm because the game has just gotten to a point where like it's not even viable. But speaking of like OG iconic YuGiOh cards, probably one of the most iconic trap cards to ever exist in the game, Mirror Force. This card was actually on the list for the limited, so this was another card you can only play 1 copy of. I mean, I still think that sometimes this card can make a game. Nowadays in age, though, all the traps need to like negate everything, and even like negate and destroy on a trap card's effect, like Solemn, we have multiple Solemns. People still don't even run Solemns, which I understand why you actually have to pay your life points, but it's basically because turn 1 doesn't do anything. That's why the only trap card that consistently sees some play in modern YuGiOh, with the exception of like a, you know, a very specific archetype, you know, requiring it for the deck to function, is pretty much just Imperm. It doesn't really act as a normal trap card. It basically is just something you can activate from your hand to stop something. So it's because YuGiOh has gotten way too fast. Now, going under the semi-limited cards over here, we have cards that you were allowed to actually play 2 copies of, and one of them is actually quite a surprise. In fact, I would say all 3 of these are actually a surprise, because like I said, this is like my first time checking this out. Well, obviously I had to make the video, so I saw the first few, but I actually didn't notice it. They put Graceful Charity at 2. I would have assumed that this card would have been banned or at 1, but if you like think about it, like the way that the card was designed was you would draw 3, then you would discard 2, and since you would activate this card, you would think in your head, well, you're just kind of just cycling through cards. But because cards all have these different bonus graveyard effects, and certain cards then later down the line when Dark World came out or other archetypes, they would make things where it's like when this card is discarded, you got some sort of a bonus effect. And the fact that this card was on the ban list and you could still play 2 copies of, that's actually a surprise to me, legitimately. Let me know if you guys were surprised by that card as well, but we're not done yet. The next card is actually Feather Duster. Feather Duster actually being at 2 when the game first, you know, got its first initial like ban list. That's a pretty insane thing as well. I was not actually expecting this card to be in this semi-limited section, considering back in the day, traps actually mattered. Back when we'd always like, you know, Heavy Storm or Giant Tornado, like you would activate these cards for game. And look at that, Change of Heart. That's awesome that we saw one of the banned cards in the video here, and that card's legal now. And again, you guys just gotten so fast that we're a Duster. It doesn't do anything turn 1. Not good. That's how a lot of people feel like. What is this guy actually playing? Okay, he's playing some maybe Strikers. And the next card, which is a very iconic YuGiOh card as well. And this one, let me know if it's a surprise to you guys as well, because I would have not expected this. Monster Reborn was actually at 2. I would have assumed that card had to be like, you know, limited to 1. Obviously, that card has gone on and off the ban list, I want to say, more times than maybe any other YuGiOh card. Maybe we can make a video going on, like, the cards that have gone on and off the ban list the most times. But anyways, I just thought that was a really cool idea, because we were talking about some ban lists back in the discussion a while back, and I thought this would be an interesting video. And now I want to mention that we will be going over some more ban lists in the future, and I want to go over the first official banned card, because these on the ban list, these cards were actually limited. They did not actually ban any cards, but we'll go over the first cards that actually did get banned in another video very soon. So if you'd like to see that and this is your first time here, make sure you guys subscribe with the bell notification on, and you'll definitely see more very soon. But let me know if any of those surprised you guys. But take care, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.